What's happening? It's Ben Sheppard here and welcome back to Run Through TV. What you're about to see is a full unedited conversation between me and our first world champion here on Run Through TV, hopefully the first of many. I adored this conversation, loved it. I thought Eilidh, who you're about to meet, was absolutely brilliant. If at any point you are loving the video as much as I like the conversation, please do pop it a thumbs up, subscribe to Run Through TV as well for more conversations like this. And without further ado, let's crack on.
Hi, I'm Eilidh Prise. I'm 26 and I'm from Aberdeen. I, this year, just recently won the Norseman Extreme Triathlon in Norway, which is the Xtri World Championships. So I guess that makes me a world champion, which is really cool. And before that, I did the Celtman Extreme Triathlon in Scotland last year, which I also won, and I did it this year as well, just 6 weeks before Norseman. And that's really my triathlon experience. Apart from that, I have a full-time job. I've got no coach and no sponsors. Just love running in the hills and have an amazing family who also are crazy sporty also.
You've come in at quite a high level, haven't you? You've just gone like that.
I think you should retire now.
Yeah, you're right, retire on. That's what they say about boxers, isn't it? They always should retire on top. I think you've got a good few years left yet. Right, let's start then with kind of your sporting background. What led you to this place now? Like, what is your story in getting to this place?
So I don't often talk about my background in the sport, and I think a lot of people just think I kind of one day decided to ride a bike and go on an adventure, and that is kind of what happened. But before that, I used to do a sport called modern pentathlon, which is running, swimming, shooting, horse riding, and fencing. And I did that for quite a few years, and I competed at the World Cup circuit. And the last year that I did that, I always did it alongside studying, so it was never full time. But I just got to these competitions and I was like, I don't enjoy this and I don't want to be here, and it's a lot of money, and I really found it so intense, and the training for it really intense, and the structure, I didn't like that. And I always saw my family running up mountains and doing kind of these fun things and thought, I wish I was doing that. So I decided to take a break from that, not with any plans to kind of do anything else. And then 2020 came along, and we all know what happened in 2020. So we all had a bit more time on our hands, and I decided to buy a second-hand cross bike off Gumtree. And my dad does a good bit of cycling, so I started joining him on some of his cycles, struggling to keep up, seriously struggling to keep up. And then I started, because I had done the flat running or the kind of shorter, faster stuff when I was in doing pentathlon, and I was really checked out from that. I didn't want to see times. I didn't care about numbers. I just wanted to enjoy running. So I started running on local trails and like the local small hills, and then the hills just kind of got bigger and bigger, and the cycles also got bigger and bigger, and one thing kind of led to the other. And then last year, my dad was always doing the Celtman. And about 7 weeks before the event, there became some extra slots because people still couldn't travel because of international travel. So I was like, I have to do this. I mean, I don't know if I can do this. I've done some big mountain days, but I've never done anything like this before. But it's just such an amazing place in Torridon and on the west coast. And my family have a home in Gairloch, and my sister and her niece lived there, and my sister had actually done Celtman in 2016 and won. So it was like a really big thing in our family. When she did it, I remember thinking, why would anyone do that? That is ridiculous. So anyway, I did it, and I won by 11 seconds only.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was super close. It was kind of like a sprint at the last bit, so over 12 or 13 hours. It's not much time at all. But yeah, one thing has just led to the other. And to be honest, I can't quite believe how quickly things have accelerated. I'm in kind of shock with it all.
You mentioned then, so it was just before the Celtman you got your place. How long was it before the Celtman last year?
So seven weeks.
So I guess before we get into that, explain what the Xtri series is. And I know some of the distances vary slightly in the different races, but the Celtman is in the north of Scotland. It's a race. You swim in a loch. That's right, isn't it? Then you cycle, and then there's a run course where there's a higher or lower course depending on cut-off time.
Yeah.
What are the distances?
So the Xtri World Tour is a series of events across the world. And the really special thing about these events is they're quite low key and they're not really races. It's like everybody's standing on the start line thinking, oh my goodness, can we do this? Yeah, it's this kind of excitement, and you feel like you're in it together. So it's kind of like each race, I think, has this community atmosphere about it. I can only really speak for Celtman, and that definitely does have an amazing Celtman family behind it. So the distance for Celtman is a 3.8 kilometer sea swim with jellyfish and quite cold water, and a 200 kilometer bike ride, which goes across the west coast of Scotland. It's just such a stunning, beautiful course. And then a marathon, 42.2 kilometers. And if you're within the cutoff, you get to go on the high route, which goes over an incredible Munro called Ben. So a Munro is a mountain over 3,000 feet for those English viewers who are not so sure. And it's just an absolutely stunning and epic part of Scotland. It's so beautiful. Torridon, Shield Egg, amazing community, and I just love it.
Do you ever think about now going to do like an Ironman distance that isn't so interesting? Because obviously these distances are pretty much next to what an Ironman distance is, but they are in these just unbelievable places. Obviously, we haven't even touched on Norseman yet, which we'll get on to. It is so different. I've done a couple of fast Ironmans, and I know how, I'm not going to say boring, but they are monotonous. You're doing them to go fast, and that's kind of it. Whereas these races are more of an experience, I think. Is that something that kind of drew you to them in the first place?
Yeah, I think the thing about them is it's just about completing it. Like, nobody really cares about the time, or the time doesn't mean anything. And I love that. And I also love that my training for it is literally going away in my van at the weekend, most of the time on my own, picking where the weather is good in Scotland. Sometimes it's not good anywhere, but a lot of the time it's not good anywhere. And just going out in the hills. And for me, I don't think I'll ever, in fact, I can say I will never do a flat Ironman, because that when it's all about pace, and yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me. And I also think with these events, it's the community feeling around the events, which I love. And I know I would feel pretty overwhelmed going to an Ironman thinking, what on earth am I doing here? So I don't think I'd ever want to do an Ironman. Yeah, but I should never say never, but I'm going to say never.
We'll see. We'll check back in 5 years and see where you're at. I know a few people that have done the Norseman, but also the Celtman, and I know the Celtman is now getting this reputation of kind of one of the fastest growing and most exciting races. And I think over the last sort of 5 years, and I think partly it's to do with travel restrictions and stuff, so many more of the adventure community are going up to Scotland and just enjoying their time in the mountains that we've got here. It must have felt pretty special for you, not only because your family have completed it, or some of your family have completed it, to complete a race essentially at home. That must have felt really, really amazing.
Yeah, and it's like I know the course so well. I know every turn in the bike course and in the run. I know like almost every step. So it's just such a beautiful place, and it's so. What I love about these races is a lot of the time you're actually on your own. And I love that, because it's just you against the elements. There's nobody else there. It's just you and your head and your bike, and it's really true and real. And it's just so special, I think, to be able to have that feeling in a race.
Norseman's kind of the flagship, I guess, for Xtri. What was the decision to go to Norseman? And did you have to do the ballot as well, or were you qualified because of winning Celtman?
So I qualified from winning Celtman last year, and I remember there was a point in the race last year at Celtman where I came off the bike and I was in third, and I was thinking, and I knew first two qualify for Norseman, and I'm thinking, thank God I'm in third, because I never want to do this ever again. I feel so hard. I was like, oh my goodness, why did I ever sign up for this? So anyway, so I had qualified for Norseman, and I knew Norseman was kind of in August, and I know myself that I for me, getting kind of too bogged down in the details and too focused on one thing, it just doesn't work for me. I'm better off keeping things relaxed, keeping them flexible, just not thinking about things, just kind of doing them. So I decided to enter Celtman again, which was kind of 6 or 7 weeks before, and all I was going to do was just focus on Celtman, and didn't really think about Norseman until like a week later, when I was thinking, oh, I'm still very sore and very tired from Celtman. This is not so good.
It is. I mean, it's an amazing race, and for anybody that hasn't seen the highlights, you should definitely go and do it. I actually loved something that you posted on your Instagram, because you did like one of the question things, didn't you, up on your Instagram? And anybody that hasn't followed you on Instagram should go and do that and go and see this, because it was quite cool. It's like you've got that Norseman highlight now, but one of the things that I really loved is you do work full time, and there was a question there about how you kind of schedule your training, and you've kind of touched on it. You don't want to be too kind of regimented all the time. You work full time, so it might be a swim before work, a run at lunchtime, cycle after work. But you know, if it's been a hard day and you want a glass of wine, you might have a glass of wine.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing about not having a coach. I can just listen to my body. I'm the type of person, if it was written down, then I'd be thinking, oh my goodness, I have to do this. And I wouldn't be able to just like step back and enjoy a beer or enjoy doing something different. Whereas because I don't have that, normally I write down what I'm going to do on a Monday morning at work on a notepad, or somewhere like on some kind of sticky thingy, so that I've seen it once, but then it'll change a million times, and I change my mind all the time about what I'm doing. So yeah, the days can vary, and depending on the time of year and weather, whatever. But yeah, I think if you don't think about things too much, and you kind of just listen to yourself and just do it without thinking about it, you can actually I think I've totally shocked myself here. Yeah, you can do quite a lot, actually.
Are you quite good at holding yourself accountable as well? Like knowing when you need to do stuff and when you're kind of maybe just being a little bit lazy?
Yeah, I think for me, like, I really just love it. I love being out on my bike, and I love running, and I find it such good headspace. So I kind of now seem to know the difference between when it's dark and cold on a Tuesday night and you got to go out and run, you've got to do it. Like that's a laziness thing. Or when I'm just exhausted and I haven't been able to concentrate at work, then I know I need a break. So I'm still, if anyone that I know is listening to this, they'll be thinking she doesn't know when to stop, because she never stops. But I think I'm kind of getting there and kind of got a good balance with it.
Is it very different, because you mentioned modern pentathlon already? Back in those days, I imagine there was a coach involved in things. So it's totally out of that. Must feel quite like everything must feel quite separate.
Yeah, I did have a coach for a while, but again, it kind of was a bit uncoachable. So then just kind of coached myself, but again, that was much more structured and much more regimented, and I was more structured with myself, and it was kind of longer term planning. And I honestly couldn't go back to that. I could not go back to that. I really, it's like if you wrote down a session, and a week before, I would hate it, but then I'd probably end up just doing it. If I was just turning up and thinking about it on the day and doing it. So it's really weird. It's a weird mentality, but it helps me to keep it.
It is kind of weird, and I'm fairly similar to you in the respect that I've done the plan thing. I've done trying to follow a coach, and I feel like both times I've wanted to be more intuitive myself, and I almost find myself like I have to do this, I have to stick to this, and then I might get injured or something might happen, because I am like, I've told myself I'm going to follow this plan, I told myself I'm going to follow this coach, and you kind of, you know your body better than anybody, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a difficult one, I suppose, because it definitely does help some people, I know for sure.
You kind of fall one side or the other, I think there's not a huge amount of in between, is there?
Yeah, I agree.
Norseman, for people that don't know, it's a race out in Norway. It's an insane race. There's been so many photos and videos and stuff that you can find on Norseman over over the years, and the start is in the middle of a fjord. You get a boat out and you jump out the back of the it's just
ferry. Yeah.
Insane start. You jump out the back of this boat. When you're on that boat, let's go to that point in your head, right? You've completed and won again in Scotland, and then you've made the decision, right, I'm going to Norway, I'm going to do the race. I haven't really been thinking about it. I'm on the boat and I'm driving out into the middle, or sailing out, I guess, into the middle of this fjord. I'm going to jump out and start the race. Where is your head at that point? Because that is daunting.
So I think for me, it actually started like the race week. So I came with these Xtri races, it's amazing. You get a support crew. So every person at the event has their little bubble of people who are helping them. And I have my mom and dad, my amazing mom and dad with me, supporting me. So we went out a few days earlier to have a look at the run course and the bike course. And I'd seen all the photos, and I looked on Google Earth on the bike course and looked at the elevation profiles. But actually being there and seeing it, and one night we slept opposite Galstatoppen. So I woke up in the morning looking over at the huge mountain. And then that same day, we drove the bike course backwards. And by the time we got to Eilidhs, where the race starts, I was almost in tears, because I still felt that I had this kind of mental trauma from Celtman. I dug so deep in Celtman, and I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I can't do this. And then on the Thursday night, so the Friday night, you're up at like 2 a.m., so you don't really get any sleep. So the Thursday night, I was like, okay, I need to get a good night's sleep here. I was up till 5 a.m. because I was so stressed. I went for a walk in the middle of the night. I just kept on working myself up about it. And I was like, I can't do this. So anyway, Friday comes, day before the race. I'm practically in tears the whole day. Anyone who saw me can totally account for that. Go to the race briefing. I'm feeling sick in my stomach, and I genuinely just want to cry. It was awful. I have more fear about that feeling before than I do about the actual race. So then, the night before, playing cards with my mom and dad, we were just kind of nice and chatting, and I managed to get some sleep. Everything was calm. By the time I got up, I put my wetsuit on, I was ready to go. There was none of that left. Sitting on my own on the ferry, found a nice quiet part, and yeah, just kind of this sense of calmness, really, that I was here and I'd had amazing adventures to get up to here. It wasn't like of course I'd done lots of training, but it wasn't the training for this. I get so much enjoyment out of just going out on my bike on a day, or going up a hill. So yeah, the ferry was fine. It was the kind of few days before were the worst part.
It's often that way, isn't it? When you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting for something, and then the day happens, or the event happens, or whatever you've been leading up to happens. I always relate it to like Christmas Day when people ask about it. It's like, you know, you've got this whole month lead up, and then the day happens, and then you're like, oh, what's going to happen now? And it's kind of like a race, isn't it? Like, you're leading up and you're getting excited / nervous, and plans are changing and everything's going on, and then you're at the start line, and then you're into it, and it's like, this is going to be over soon. So kind of like enjoy every moment, even though when you're digging deep and you're in pain.
Exactly. And for me, the swim was fine. I'm quite, I guess, lucky, because I did quite a lot of swimming when I was younger. So I really don't swim very much at all now, just because it takes a lot of time with a full-time job. So I kind of do the minimal amount of swimming. So the swim was fine. Like physically, I wasn't really worried about it, but I kept on like almost panicking, and you're looking around, and there's these incredible mountains at the side of the fjord, and it's kind of startling and like a bit disconcerting.
Yeah.
So, and I kept on thinking, oh my goodness, we've got to go all the way to Galstatoppen. Oh my goodness. So I kept on trying to like push down this kind of panic, and then get into T1, trying to like smile and almost just like, okay, breathe. It was a very different to Celtman. It was a very well-oiled. We knew what we were doing. This was just, okay, it's fine. And then the first like 5 or 6K of the bike is pretty flat, and it's probably like the easiest part of the day, if I'm honest. And all I was thinking about was, I can't do this. I cannot do this. And imagining myself at the side of the road. And then And then I was like, okay, just keep going, just keep going. And then we started climbing. I started remembering all the local climbs that I've done in Aberdeen, the Cairn Mount, the Ballot and Ba. I know I could do this. And the elevation, it wasn't as steep as I had kind of expected. Oh, this is okay. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to smile. I'm just going to smile all day, because this is such a privilege to be at this race. So many people want to be here, and I'm going to smile and enjoy this. And I did, and I started smiling at people's support crew. And then I think because I was like smiling at them, they were like, oh, go, go, go. So I was getting so much back from the support crew, and just like, yeah, just getting so much back from other people as I was going. So, and then, yeah, the day kind of went like a flash after that.
And when did you realize, oh, there's a potential here of me winning this?
So, going back to your question about would I ever do an Ironman, I can tell you the worst part of the day, apart from the mental part at the start, was the flat part in the run.
Yeah.
I could not wait to get to the hill. Where is this hill? Oh my goodness. So when I got to the hill, I kind of, I guess, deep down knew that no one was getting past me. We're on a hill now, okay? It's a road. It's a bit different to the normal hills I'm running up, but this is my thing.
Do you feel like that's like your territory? I own this.
Yeah, okay. I guess so. Not like in a, or just that I love this.
Yeah, and you can be confident in something because you know, like you love it and you've done a lot of it. So that's your wheelhouse, if you will.
Yeah, and I guess it's just because I do that every weekend. Yeah. So, but I wouldn't let myself think about that at all until I guess like, the last 5 minutes, and then when I crossed the line and there was all these cameras, and I was like, oh my God, I've actually won. It was just this kind of like sense of I couldn't believe it. And even now, like, I think today is the first day I've really been able to like process it, and it's like such an amazing feeling to think, oh my goodness, I didn't think I was gonna be able to do that, and I did. What?
And some of the, like you say, some of the photos, and you should go and check these out if you're watching, you haven't seen them. Some of the photos, like there's a finish line photo of you on the floor, and you're smiling, and you've just got this elation, and it's so amazing to see somebody at an event that is obviously there and absolutely loving every second of it, even though there is pain. But like you say, it's a privilege to be there and be in that situation and be in a race that a lot of people have wanted to do. When you finished, when you won, what was the feeling in the first couple of minutes of crossing the line, knowing you would essentially, like you said, just become that world champion?
So the initial feeling was just how special it was to be there with my dad, because my dad was my support crew. So to be able to cross the line hand in hand with my dad, it's just like such an incredible thing. And he was there right at the start, and then my mum was running up the hill behind, and she wasn't too far behind, and just to be able to like be there with them and share that with them, it was just so amazing. And I think the initial feelings were just kind of overwhelmed. I was just overwhelmed and shocked, I guess, because even though I thought as we were going up the hill, okay, we're on the hill now, I still hadn't let myself think about that. And I think it will take a while to sink in, for sure, because it's just, yeah, I don't know, I could probably cry when I think about it, actually.
I can see, and the thing is, it's such a big thing, and I've absolutely loved seeing the outreach of kind of like that community as well on social media and just across everything. I know Fergus Crawley and like people that have done that who are in sort of that realm as well, and people just seem to be showing you so much love, and as they should. It is amazing.
No, it's a little bit overwhelming because I'm just a normal person who loves to ride their bike and likes going up hills, and I think people have this kind of impression of me that I'm superwoman, and I am not. I'm like everybody else. I have serious self-doubt a lot. I have, breakdowns, or you've got a flat tire on your bike and you have to fix it. So the support has been amazing, and I've been so overwhelmed and kind of just, yeah, embarrassed a little bit about it, but yeah, it's amazing, and I just hope that I can maybe inspire somebody to even just like get out on a lunchtime run, because it doesn't need to be Norseman or Celtman or these crazy distances. It just get outside and enjoy being outside, because it just gives you so much life.
That's one thing I was going to say before we end is, and you've mentioned it as well, inspiring other people to just go out for a run. Like, people will look at you and think this is an unbelievable thing, and people will also, and I'm sure you've had this load, say, I could never do that. I could never do something like that. That's mad. And I'm sure you turn around and say, honestly now, you genuinely can. If you want to do something, whatever it may be, whether it be Norseman, whether it be Celtman, whether it be a 10K, you can do it. Like, if somebody is watching this and thinking about lacing up their trainers and going out or hopping on the bike, what would you say to them?
Do it. Don't think about it. Don't think about things too much. Just take it one step at a time. And when you get to that point where you can click into that almost like meditation state when you're out on your bike or when you're out on a run, it's the best feeling ever. And it's just this sense of calmness and freedom that I don't think you can get anywhere else.
Brilliant. I loved Eilidh. I thought she was absolutely amazing. Subscribe to RunThrough TV if you don't yet. Go and follow Eilidh on her social media just for some incredible inspiration as well. And I hope to catch you at an event very, very soon from us here at RunThrough. It was brilliant to have you watching this video, and please do make sure you come back and watch another one again.